What's good? It's Rocky Fresh, and you are now listening to the College Blueprint.
College Blueprint. College Blueprint.
The College Blueprint. Swag.
This is the best blueprint.
Tonight we have a great show for you. We have two great guests with us. We have Dart Adams and Boston hip-hop legend Ed O.G. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. What's the word?
Yo, this is an honor to finally get you in the studio with us. This is a huge moment for the show and for WTBU.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Appreciate you guys inviting me down, man.
Oh, no problem, man. The first thing I wanted to ask you, I was looking at your Twitter account. And I don't do this very often, but I saw your Twitter account and I saw the background. Yeah. And it's a picture of you and Tupac. Yep. When did that picture take place?
That was 93, I think. I'm thinking 92. 93. Yeah, my wife was there. She's in the background too. If you check the picture, you can see my wife in 93, way in the back. So yeah, that was 93. It was my cousins, who are the Awesome Two. They're a legendary DJ duo from New York, New Jersey. They were on like one of the first hip-hop radio stations to ever play hip-hop back in the early 80s. So it was their anniversary party, and I was performing, Tupac was performing, MOP, and Lords of the Underground.
Was that a relationship that you kept until he unfortunately passed away?
Nah, not really, man. We were pretty cool in the early days, you know, up until the early 90s. Then once he started with the jail and, you know, all of that stuff, we kind of, you know, I didn't talk to him too much after then or see him. I mean, he was on a whole nother level. Man. Yeah. it was pretty hard, you know what I'm saying, at that point.
But that's a cool picture to have. Yeah. I mean, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about, you got your 11th studio album coming out in a little bit after all these years.
Yep.
I was watching a video that you have on the website for that album, and you found 4 Pete Rock beats just out of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, I was digging through cassettes, man. So I was going through a bunch of cassettes. I got tons of them, still more that I haven't even listened to, man. And I was listening back to some beats that when we did our album, it was 10 years ago. Called My Own Worst Enemy. So I just was fishing around, man, looking through tapes and trying to, you know, get some inspiration. And I found a bunch of Pete Rock beats. I mean, I used actually 5, but I found a whole bunch, man. I mean, just a treasure trove of dope beats that I'm like, wow. And why didn't I use this for the album? These are the joints that I was going to use, you know, that I didn't end up using for My Own Worst Enemy.
Are they cassettes or deads?
Cassettes. They were cassette tapes. Damn. Cassette tapes on tapes. He used to mail them to me. This was 2002.
Wow.
So just in 2002, believe it or not, you know, we didn't have that technology. He had to mail the tape.
Oh
physically.
My God!
It wasn't even a CD. It was a cassette. I think this you know, gives the fans a way to participate in making an album and, you know, being a part of it and not just going out and buying a CD and, you know, coming to the show. That's obviously, you know, one of the best ways that hip hop artists work and support themselves. But, you know, I think this gives you a little more, you know, with certain incentives. You can get your name on the credits on the album. You can get in a video. You know, there's a bunch of different incentives where people can feel like they're really more a part of the process of this album. And, you know, at the end result, if it's successful, it's because of all of us and not just, you know, you really helped out. So I just, you know, thought the crowdsource, and I've never tried it. It's just a different angle. I started a new label. This seems like it could be the best way for us to really get everybody involved in this new movement of hip-hop that we trying to bring, man. We're really trying to just go straight and stick to the essence of that boom bap stuff. So that's what this whole album is all about.
That answers my next question. I was going to ask what the style was like.
Yeah, well, the style, I mean, it features, I got Camp Low on there. I got Chuck D.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, Guilty Simpson. My man King Magnetic, Ninth Wonder on a joint, the Pete Rock joints. Some producers from Europe are on there. So it's kind of, you know, beats that I really like, but they're all in that boom bap vein, and there's going to be a lot of, you know, cutting and scratching. It's just that classic essence, you know. That's what I'm trying to do.
How did you guys connect originally?
Just through the industry. I used to see him in New York, parties, different places. And how we really got up was the hip hop history, the XXL cover, The Greatest Day in Hip Hop. Yeah. And that's where literally there's no one that wasn't in hip hop that wasn't on that cover. And I was, really excited that they called me because I'm an underground artist, not to, but they reached out to me and I got on that, and that's where we formed really that relationship to start working. And in 2001, he did a song on that album, The Truth Hurts, and that's what kind of started the relationship, and then we went from there.
What was that experience like?
I mean, well, first when they reached out and said they wanted to put it in there, I was like, word. Word. So I mean, it was dope, man. It's just dope hearing your music, and seeing it and knowing that you can make that kind of music that other people can really relate to and feel. And that's a song that not too much in the States when I perform it, but when I perform it in Europe, it's like people are they're losing it, you know what I mean? So it's one of those songs, man, that people really feel, man. It's a heartfelt song, and I think it touches a lot of people in different ways.
I want to go back to the beginning, to the way beginning, with the group Fresh to Impress.
Yes.
FTI crew.
Yeah, yes. The FTI crew. Let's start from there and how that turned into Edo G and the Bulldogs.
Well, that started at about 84. 85. I joined him. One of the Bulldogs, T9. He lived in my neighborhood. He was older than me. I was probably about 14. He was around 18, 19, so he had to come to my mom's and be like, he's going to be with me. We're going to do some shows. He's beatboxes. And, my mom was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, so T got me out there, man. I was so, happy and thankful for my man to really let me join the group, because at that particular time they were a popular, local group that was doing shows and stuff, and they were from my neighborhood. So I'm like, come on, let me in. You know what I'm saying? So we started doing a lot of shows, and in 1987, or 86, I think, Boston Goes Deaf came out.
86, Beautiful Sounds.
Yeah, and we did it in 85, and I was beatboxing on a record called Susie Q. It was a great compilation, had a lot of talent on there, man, a lot of good records. We did a album release party at TT and the Bears in Cambridge. It's a rock club. They did used to do hip-hop in the 80s, y'all. Not anymore, but in the 80s, yeah. So, and the guy who produced it, the whole executive producer and put it out, Steve Barry, he was a rock guy. So he had those connections.
Mr. Beautiful, right?
Yeah, to those things. So, I mean, that whole thing, man, built up to where I'm at now. I mean, that group kind of, dissolved in the 80s, but my man T, we still, kept grinding it out, and we formed Edo G and the Bulldogs in, 90.
So how do you think that kind of process for you in starting and getting your music out there, how does it compare to how things are done today, and how it's so difficult for especially Boston artists to kind of come out?
Yeah, I think, well, I can dart this here because I'm going to have to go back to this. It's radio in Boston. That's the problem with Boston hip hop. Radio doesn't support. Not college radio.
We try. We should.
But
we only have so much pull,
We're only talking about major stations.
Right.
The 94.5s, the 96.9s.
Yeah.
I would say those are the two probably only big, primarily fake type urban station, whatever you want to call it, man.
Right.
Because we don't have real urban radio.
We don't have a black radio station in Boston. We haven't had one for years. WIOD,
WRBB.
Well, that's a college, but I'm talking about a black radio station, a black urban station.
Okay, yeah.
If you go anywhere else in the country besides this little corner up here in the Northeast, there are urban stations. From New York has 3 or 4.
Right. Hot 97.
Philly has 3 or 4. You keep going down, there's 3 or 4. Baltimore, DC, all the way down, except for up here.
Yeah.
So we don't have that, when we did have the Hot 97 back here in, what was it, early 2000s or something?
Yeah,
was that?
it was between zeros in like 04 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
the official Hot 97 was here in Boston. They was here for about 4 years or so.
And they had the battle with 94.5.
They made 94.5, basically changed their format, their playlist. They started having to compete. They played local stuff. I had records added on there in daytime. Back then, they added a Dre Robinson record. They added Smoke Bolger. That's how he got his start, from a urban station. Dude, a real station that really supported, the artists that were here.
I mean, I also think it's a new era too. I mean, we talked about this in our Boston hip hop discussion. There isn't radio anymore, but there is the internet.
Yeah, for sure, and it's a blessing. It's such a blessing because now obviously you can reach as many people as you want, through this medium, and you don't need the radio station. So, but I mean, for young artists and artists coming up, that's their goal. Most artists, you can ask any artist, they want to be on the radio.
Yeah.
Still, even though it's a dinosaur and soon to be obsolete, people still want to be on it.
We just played I Gotta Have It, one of Ed O.G's most famous songs, and you gotta love that music video, especially that one of the end shots of Will Smith in there.
No, that's not Will Smith.
That wasn't Will Smith?
Will Smith.
It's my boy.
Oh my God.
He does look like Will Smith.
Also, another thing about that video.
You gotta love that.
You know what's funny? I thought I
His
saw that.
His name is Skype Man. Google Skype Man video and check my man out. He does look like Will Smith.
I thought I saw that in another interview that
But another weird thing, Gangstar is actually in that video too.
Yeah,
Guru and Premier are in that video too, doing the dance.
It's real quick. They were actually doing promo for their album. It had just came out, and there was a record store down there. And I'm like, oh, y'all are here shooting a video. Get in. Boom. That quick. It's like a quick second, but they're in there.
Jay-Z happened to give you a huge shout out on Twitter a while back. Can you talk about that a bit?
I mean, it was surprising. People were retweeting it to me, and, I was like, oh, wow. Thanks. I said thanks back to him. He never responded. But I know he got it. So hey.
Word.
And he actually he mentioned me in his book, too. He talked about Be a Father to Your Child, was one of those influential records at the time when he was, really doing his thing.
But how important is it for Boston artists to come together and work on stuff with one another and help cultivating a community like that?
Yeah, I mean, Dart, go ahead.
Well, okay. Back in the days, I talked about this the last time I was on. This scene was splintered because people didn't mess with each other if they were from different neighborhoods. And sometimes I'm from the South End / Lower Roxbury. Cats didn't mess with each other if they lived on different streets. And as I said before, this city is so small that, I remember streets beefing with other streets that are 30 to 45 seconds away walking. So that just gives you an idea of the Boston mentality back in the day. So since that beef type thing is gone, where the gangs don't really exist like they used to, there's no excuse for people not working with each other and sticking with each other and dealing with each other. It's because that excuse we had in the 80s and 90s is gone. One thing that the internet did, it democratized everything, so there's space for everyone. It's not like back in the day when there were labels coming and they're only getting certain people in Boston. Anybody could do their thing. Anybody could have their movement. Everybody could have their team. Everybody could have their following. But we all need to be on the same page where it's all Boston. And even back in the days, cats would be like, no, Cambridge ain't a part of Boston. Cambridge doesn't count. The Boston hip-hop scene is a size where everybody can be included, including cats from Lawrence, including cats from Cambridge, including cats from Worcester or wherever. Because Boston hip-hop falls under a wider scope than just cats in the metro Boston area.
Houston, Atlanta, New York, they have labels.
Now,
indie labels, especially in Atlanta.
With distribution.
All of those guys down there on some indie label / a major label, for distributing it. So there's no labels here. Who could you go to as an artist? What label here could you go to get a deal to put your stuff out? There's Brick Records, which is a staple. They put out all the terminology, Static, Rex, Insight back in the days, Lift. They put out a lot of stuff. So they're a great label, but they're not signing everybody. You know, they're not signing new artists like that. You know what I mean? So it's far and few here for artists to go and, all right, there's a established label here that could help me, you know, get my stuff out to the masses. You look at the Bay Area, they have all those, you know, little niche labels, the Stones Throws in LA and all of those labels like that where people can go. Snoop just put out his new album
with Dame Funk
on Stone's Throw. It's a great record too. You know what I mean? But they have those options. We don't have those options here.